Because we are your election headquarters, and time now for the biggest story today. All eyes on Akwatia tomorrow as the two giant political parties lock horns in a by-election that pretends to be fierce and too close to call. We'll look at the numbers, the voters, trends, and the politics, plus the security arrangements that should see the infamous Ablikuma North occurrence averted. Now, joining us for this very important conversation is Dr. John Osei-Kwapon, CDD Fellow, and also Professor Smart Sapon, Director of Research and Innovation, Kumasi Technical University. Thank you so much, Doc and Prof, for joining us for this very important conversation. Doc, how are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. So?
Very well, thank you for asking. And Prof as well, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, all is well.
Right. Thank you so much for making time for us on the show. So tomorrow, by-election, a very much anticipated one, of course. It's as if we have not had any by-elections in this country. We've had many of it, but tomorrow seems to have a very special touch to it. Have you seen the research, the Global Info Analytics research so far, Doc?
Yes, I have seen that, and if I recall correctly, shows that the NDC candidate has a bit of an edge over the NPP candidate.
Yeah. Right. We'll start from there. What's your reaction to that?
Well, if I recall, it was a hotly contested race in the 2024 election, which eventually the NPP candidate pulled off. And so when I saw the numbers, I was quite intrigued to see the shift. But if you also look at the trend in Akwatia, if you discount the transition election in 1992, the 8 elections that have been held in that constituency, NDC and the NPP have won it an equal number of times, 4 each. There's also been a history of NPP holding the seat and NDC snatching it, NDC holding the seat and NPP snatching it. So the Global Info Analytics poll does mimic what we have seen in that constituency over the last 8 parliamentary elections beginning in 1996. I'm curious as to whether what the polls is showing now is a reflection of the candidates. I would have also thought that given the unfortunate circumstances leading to the seat becoming vacant, that perhaps voters in the constituency, there will be that element of what we traditionally like to call the sympathy votes, and sort of giving that indication that perhaps the NPP has a chance to hold on to the seat. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow. For me, at the end of the day, whoever is able to motivate their voters enough to get to the polls and cast their vote would eventually emerge victorious, because these things also boil down to turnout and who wants it so badly that they can get their sympathizers to show up and vote tomorrow.
Okay, maybe Kojo, let's invite Prof into this. If you have seen the polls as well and your reaction, and when I come to you, Doc, my question will be that in this country, really, does sympathy vote really count? Do people really vote because of sympathy, or they just vote because it's NDC and NPP? But Prof, first of all, your assessment of the polls and what it's bringing so far, the numbers.
Yeah, well, so what I think polls do is to give the stakeholders the feel of what is happening or what is likely to happen. Polls are not futuristic. They are current assessment of things. And so you take it, try and work things out if the polls suggest that it doesn't favor you. And then even if it suggests that it favors you, it doesn't call on you to go relax and maybe think that all is well. You still would need to intensify your gains and then try to make sure that those people come out to vote to reflect the predictions of the polls. But as we all know, Akwatia is a constituency that is not so easy to call. In 1996, where the first competitive elections was held, the NDC won with, I think, 57.4% of the vote, and that remains the highest percentage the NDC has ever won in Akwatia. The next would be the NPP, who would have also won. Their highest was 60.6, and that was won by our friend Amase, Madame Mercy Edujemfi. Outside these two, what I called outliers or extreme numbers, the rest remain within 47 and 54, 47. In Baba Jamal's case, for example, he wins with 50.1, and the NPP person trails with 49.9. So the two of them shared the 100%. It's been so close, and I do not expect this current by-election to also be quite different. It will be close. And so, yes, the poll would give an impression of a likely to occur event. But I still insist that if the NPP does well in their mobilization, last-minute mobilization, and ensures that if nobody turns out to vote at all, their core people, by now they should have an idea of who their core potential voters are, who their likely 50-50 voters are, and who their non-voters at all are. And they will not spend much energy on people who will not be going to vote for them. Mobilize those who will be voting for them to vote. And we will see the true picture, and then the same advice goes to the NDC. So, yes, polls will come. The impression is given. Work hard. If it appears not to favor you, you can win. And then don't go to sleep if it appears to favor you and think that all is well. You still need to work so hard so that when the actuals come, we will meet and compare the actuals versus the predicted and discuss where the variations did occur and what could be the reasons why those variations did occur.
I mean, how will incumbency in terms of the party that is forming the government impact this particular election?
Yes, incumbency in by-elections do play a very serious effect. By then, we know who the president is already, unlike the general elections where we do not know who is going to lead the state. Now we know who the president is. So campaign messages for incumbent parliamentary candidates, so simple. I mean, we are sending somebody to go get us development, and it is my father who is on the seat. Give me the opportunity, and I'm the best person to bring the development that we so much need here in this constituency. That is a very simple message that usually incumbent parliamentary candidates do put out. So, if the incumbent parliamentary candidates do not win, I mean, and I said it on your platform last Saturday, that what is simply one of the reasons could be that, yes, you gave us the promises and you were in the position to get us the development much better than the other person, but we do not trust that these assurances you are giving us will be delivered when we give you the mandate. So there is a lot for the incumbent, since in by-elections they are on the seat. But it's also not automatic that incumbent parliamentary candidates in by-elections do necessarily win. In the past, since 1992, we've seen parties winning. A very recent one is the Ascend North one, where the NPP was in government, the president was an NPP, but still the people went for the NDC candidate, who we would have thought was not in the incumbency. So, yes, we leave it to the people of Akwatia, and we expect a peaceful elections tomorrow, and we will meet to discuss the variation that will occur.
But how about the goodwill of the NDC government in general? I mean, we're in the 9th month, really, but the economy is rebounding. Things look on the upside. So how will that impact on the outcome of the election tomorrow?
Right. So when you localize the goodwill, you would realize that the people of Akwatia would have been affected in terms of their gold prices. They are into mining, and prior to this contest, I mean, before 2024, they were selling a blade of gold for 1,004. Now it sells around 800 Ghana cedi. They were selling a ton of gold for, say, 14,000. Now it is selling between 8,000 and 9,000, less than 10,000.
A pound of gold.
A pound, yes. A pound of gold. So when you localize the goodwill, the people of Akwatia will tell you that we are receive the bad and the bad side of the goodwill. Okay. All right. So it depends on how these things are explained to them. If not, raw on the surface, You cannot say you are doing well and our very source of livelihood is affected. Almost about 40% down the way things used to be. And they will tell you they still buy fuel at a high cost. Their inputs, their occupational inputs are still high, not affected by the reduction, but they would have to suffer in the way they sell their goods. And this thing I'm saying is some of the things that people are saying on the ground in Akwatia. And so, yes, it's a general goodwill for the Republic of Ghana. We all can't discount that the president is doing well. The first 8-9 months has been quite good. But when you localize the goodwill, perhaps it may not be on the same level.
Well, Doc, let's come back to, Doc, if you can hear me, let's talk about sympathy votes. Now, the poll seems to suggest that there's low influence in sympathy votes in this particular elections. Generally, and from your research, elections in this country, would you say that sympathy vote really played a critical role and wouldn't matter in this election as well?
Correct. It's sometimes difficult to quantify the extent to which the sympathy that a voter feels for a given political party as a result of the tragic loss then translates into an election vote. I recall in 2012, for example, there was some conversation around the unfortunate passing of the late Professor Mills and how that was going to inure politically to the benefits of the NDC. So that quantification is challenging to arrive at. I still believe that there's still a certain element, of that, but then the extent to which that becomes the game changer, I think sometimes is unknown. And as the Global Info Analytics poll, I think one of the questions that they try to get at is whether sympathy for the loss may affect their decision on which candidate they prefer. And it doesn't look like that is going to be the case. I still think that there would be some who would be motivated by that. The question is, will they be enough to be the game changer? That I am unsure of.
In fact, it talked both about the sympathy vote and the popularity of the candidates. It says that the slow influence by sympathy vote and the candidates' popularity, but rather people will vote based on the government's performance. It's just been 8 months. Is it enough for people to want to vote based on the government's performance? Or you think that for this particular election, they will look at the popularity of the candidates?
As Prof. Sapple said, if you also look at, if you're motivated by the government's performance, every election is also local, right? You have to factor in the local context and the local circumstances. So if you believe that the government's performance is good, and I do believe that the first 8 months has been on a positive trajectory, if you can localize that for the people of Akwatia, then you would say that if they also see that same positive trajectory in their local circumstances, in their local economy, then I can see how it gives the NDC candidate an edge. But if they localize it and feel, as Prof said, that they are not, quote-unquote, feeling that positive trajectory, then you can see how that becomes a challenge for the incumbent. Candidate popularity, definitely. But I still would go back to voter mobilization and turnout, right? Okay. That regardless of how you see the government's performance and whether it's positive or negative in your local circumstances, regardless of your candidate's popularity, this is a game of numbers. And whoever can get enough of their voters to go out there and vote for them to cross, the finish line, I think will become very, very, very critical. And you can see that. You can see all the, the big names, the heavy guns, figuratively speaking, that have shown up in the constituency. From Dr. Bawumia, the president is going to be there to commission a DVLA office in Akwatia, all of that. It is all part of the mobilization efforts to get their voters out to vote. Because at the end of the day, whoever is able to, get their people out to vote, I believe will emerge victorious in this race.
Okay.
I mean, is that why the NPP is sounding the alarm bells that, the national security is intimidating some people not to come out? I mean, can it all be part of this mobilization and demobilization strategy?
Well, we tend to also get, these things tend to happen, right? You hear stories or narratives around voter intimidation and all these underhanded tactics that supposedly a party is using or an incumbent is trying to use and all of that. I just hope that, at the end of the day, nobody uses any underhanded tactics, that the incumbent doesn't deploy, the national security to try and intimidate people not to go out to vote and things like that. I think that would mar the integrity of the election. I just hope that it's part of sometimes, the quote-unquote, the propaganda that comes with election. I just hope that is what it is, because if it's truly happening, then I think that would be unfortunate and that would mar the integrity of the election.
Well, Prof, let's talk about the research methodology, because I see that it says a 99% confidence level. If you have looked at the methodology carefully, do you have any challenges with the respondents and even the confidence level at all?
Well, it is still in the scope of a sampled survey. Usually, outcomes from surveys are efficient or sufficient if it is a population, if it's a census. But if it is not from a census and it is from a survey, a sampled survey, then we always say it is not a sufficient conclusion. In fact, it is only when you get a case where nothing changes, there is no disturbance in your sample, and we assume that the political parties have ceased campaigning. They are not convincing anybody. Nobody is shifting from left to right or staying at home to affect the predicted outcome. It is only when we assume all other things like that being stable and unaffected that we expect a direct confirmation of a predicted results. So that is what we expect. Here we know activities are still ongoing, and so the population view may not necessarily be exactly confirmed by the predicted view. So we allow for those margins of error and all those things. In fact, margin of error is a test of the positioning of the people as at that time. If we should do another survey today, based on the sample we use, we are also likely to have a varied margin of error. It's allowed, and it will always be so when the population is not at stake, not the entire census, the entire people of the place is at stake, but a sample is drawn. So that one we can allow, and it is limited to the sample. If you interviewed, let's say, 1,000 people, the margin of error, the confidence interval, and all those things are exclusive to those people you interviewed. If you should shift the sample, you may allow. But like I said, it's like fetching a spoonful of maybe a soup on fire. You just need to see whether the content is balanced. You don't need to drink the entire soup to know what the content feels. So it is equally important that stakeholders take sample surveys they take interest in it, because it was drawn from the Akwatia people. And sometimes just a spoonful of soup will give you a fair idea of the content of the soup. So yes, let's take it serious, but then activities are still ongoing, and so minds are swaying. Some people who he interviewed perhaps may even not turn out to vote on the day. If by natural order you are somewhere displaced from the constituency and you're unable to vote, all those things can cause a variation between the predicted and the actual that you may record tomorrow. So yes, it's still good to pay attention to research reports like that.
Well, Doug, will it be safe to want to talk about the impact of this particular elections on the 2028 elections? Maybe you focus on it on the leadership.
I think it would be a bit too early to project what happens in Akwatia on 2028. But what I also see happening is if the NPP wins the seat, I can see an emerging narrative of it is a reflection or a referendum on people's dissatisfaction with the NDC. I can see them framing the win as that. If the NDC wins, I can see a framing of the victory as we've been telling you that the most attractive political party today is the NDC, and this is, quote unquote, the end of the NPP, things like that. So depending on who wins and who loses, I can see some of these emerging narratives and how they spin it to the benefit of their political party. Overall, though, I don't think that, or let me put it this way, I think it will be a bit of a stretch to use the Akwatia by-election to project anything in terms of the 2028 election.
Interesting. But the Akwatia by-election, I mean, we know the history there already. If you look at tomorrow's election, how should we approach it such that it will be different from the other by-election that we witnessed in that constituency?
I think security, for me, would be extremely important. We've seen one too many, what we keep describing as pockets of electoral violence. And I've been saying that I just hope that those pockets of electoral violence do not become normalized as part of our elections. We saw what happened in Ablekuma North. And so for me, tomorrow, security should be as extremely tight, as possible. We don't want anything that would mar, an otherwise peaceful, go out, vote, go home, come back, let's count, declare a winner, let's go home. And so security definitely is what is on my mind, and I'm sure given recent events in Ablekuma North would also be on the minds of many. For me, that would be of prime importance. And then the second thing that I would add is I also just hope that the various sympathizers of the two main political parties would be able to hold, their political temperaments in check. I know that during these kinds of elections, there's always the desire to do what they call protecting the ballot and being vigilant, and all of those things are important. But I also hope that the desire to do that does not cross into engaging in any acts of electoral violence, because again, ultimately that mars the beauty of the election and undermines the integrity of our electoral system. So for me, those two things will be very important to look out for tomorrow as Akwatia goes to vote in this by-election.
We know the youth wings of both parties have some sort of, quote unquote, what they call armies. With the history we know about Akwatia and with tomorrow's election, must the police sort of restrict the activities of these, quote unquote, youth armies of these political parties as we head into the by-election tomorrow?
Yes, but in addition to that, the enforcement of the law would also be very important. I mean, if these quote-unquote youth armies, are simply there just trying to mobilize their people to go out and vote, or trying to engage in any of these sort of protecting the ballot kind of activities in non-violent ways, then that should not threaten or mar activities at the poll. But when they start crossing, the line and starting to engage in the kinds of activities that would create disturbances, that is where I expect law enforcement to be able to really, enforce the law. So again, for me, all the security preparations tomorrow will be very, very important in ensuring that the activities of these youth armies do not mar the beauty of the poll in Akwatia tomorrow.
Okay. Let's bring in Professor Kwesieni, who is a security consultant and knows more about these issues. Prof, grateful for joining us here. I'm sure you've been following the deployment by the police to Akwatia and all matters arising. What do you make of the preparation so far? Do you have confidence that we'll get it right this time?
No, I've always been confident that Akwatia will be okay. And my assessment, or my initial assessment, was purely based on the fact that post-Ablekumanor, it would be disastrous for each of the parties to try to use their supporters, cause mayhem. Because it simply did not make me, tactical sense that after one violent by-election or election, people will go ahead and violent. My assessment is that Akwatia will be calm, and that what we should be looking out for will probably be the third, fourth, or fifth by-election if we ever get to that place. So the figures that I have read, please confirm for me if it's 5,000 police officers who are in Akwatia.
That's what the police said they will deploy, but we don't know whether the numbers are up to 5,000
Okay.
the deployment now.
Yeah. Now, we're there to deploy 5,000. That would mean we've deployed 1/7 of the total force strength for one election, one by-election. Now, that has a lot of implications for how we assess threats. It has implications for our understanding of the risk in Akwatia. But more importantly, thirdly, it raises concern about the distribution of our force strength, first prevent and then respond to criticality. So we see that in Teshi during the war, I think people have lost their lives, and then that's the loss of the we've seen it, I think, I'm shooting on the street, a couple of people dead, and we've seen the violence in and around the Savannah region. We are not even sure number of people who have died. So if we factor in all these examples and contrast and compare to Akwatia, what is so special about Akwatia that we need all these men and the armored personnel carriers? And what did we get wrong in Sotuo, Teshi, and in the Savannah region? So it's not just about sending the personnel to Akwatia. It also speaks to our ability to identify especially hotspots, known repeated incidences on an annual basis that we need to be able to understand and prevent. So for me, Akwatia and the deployment raises other very fundamental challenges around threat assessment and the decision to deploy particular levels of strength to deal with those problems.
In fact, as of August 30, we understand the police has deployed some 5,500 personnel to Akwatia. So it means that we now know the numbers that are there, 5,500. If they are able to identify the hotspots, that gives some sort of assurances that we'll get it right.
Well, it ought to have been identified before. I think I heard the previous speaker using the term the armies of the political party. Look, until political parties themselves decide that they will discipline the members within their parties who are prone to using violence, identifying those within the parties who fund and recruit. We can send the whole of the Ghana President to one constituency. Those who seek to cause mayhem will do it because they know that their political masters will pay for whatever fine that is imposed on them. So the onus really is on the political party to do what political parties do, to be driven by shared norms, shared principles, and shared values about democratic practices and electoral democracy. Because right now, I'm hoping that the Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliament and the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament will give us the cost to the state of this deployment in Africa. And for us to challenge the political party if their inability to fulfill their forte and the Ghana Police Service incurring this on budgeted costs is what we should be using our resources for. I mean, I can imagine the calculations, the planning, the contingency plans that the Ghana Police Service is making to respond to other areas that need a presence, but diverting 1/7 of the sum total of the personnel to one constituency just shows the kind of crisis we have placed ourselves in because political parties don't want to play by the rules.
Well, the New Patriotic Party has raised the alarm about some alleged voter intimidation, that the national security is intimidating some voters in the constituency. The NDC has refuted those allegations, and only to say that the national security led by Richard Jakpa are there on an anti-galamsey operation, not the elections. I mean, you really understand some of these things. Can you look at the timing and whether or not it was a right time to say we are going to do an anti-galamsey operation there when the by-election is coming on with the history of Akwatia that we know?
I've raised other larger issues around the timing of particular interventions or actions by state institutions when parties power. So I've raised about the timing of when would be was cited by office because of mining activity. And my sense is that when the fish note that would be mine were not paid by the book. And then there was some destruction of some properties on the Princess Road where my friend Carlos Saloni, your colleague, was assaulted. Once more, when did the demolition team realize that that particular property had to be demolished? When did they get the intelligence in these two? Now, Akwatia has been an old mining town until the UN, classified Akwatia diamond as conflict diamond. Akwatia was the third most productive diamond mine on this continent. So the timing is unfortunate. Because national security, in their assessment, I don't think drew the conclusion that the best time to conduct raids and to map out the extent of the problem should coincide with by election. And I'm looking for a time when national security as a national institution that works devoid of who is in power delivers security, and they perform in a manner that people don't think it's ad hoc, that the timing and the choice of an operational area is also not determined by other factors over and above the operational calculus. And I think the timing is most important, because irrespective of the operational need for this particular intervention, the timing then raises questions and suspicion. And I'm hoping for a time when such operations are subjected to some conversation, amongst, let's say, the Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliament, because this is part of the national security operation, and it cannot be done devoid of parliament oversight, so that we can have this conversation. And the oversight institutions can then say, hang on a second, let's get this particular aid out of the way. Because see, from where I sit, were I to be a Galactic officer or whatever criminal activity I am engaged with 5,500 police officers on the ground, I think I will not decide to engage in my operation during this. And that comes back once more to my point earlier on about what are the variables that go into the risk of the threat assessment. What are the components of these different variables that we combine in different ways to draw the conclusion that, look, we need to act in a particular way? And any such objective assessment would have said, look, this operation might not really attain its objective because there are a lot of police officers already on the ground.
Okay.
The eyes of the public are on the constituency, and therefore these guys will already go underground. So we can do better than we are.
Prof, we're grateful to you for your insights this morning.
Thank you very much.
Professor Kwesi there is a security consultant. Over.
Well, let's now speak to the political parties, but we'll start with Mustafa Bandi, General Secretary of the NDC. Mustafa, thank you for joining us today. Tell me, what kind of election is the NDC going into tomorrow?
Hello.
Hi, Mustafa, can you hear me?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the show. What kind of election?
Thank you for having me.
What kind of election would it be for the NDC tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow's election is basically from the purposes of the NDC, promising to be a very peaceful one, and it's going to be a win for our candidate at the back of hard work, dedication, and track record. We have been engaging with the people of Akwatia from all fronts, including engaging with the NPP people, to find with passive voting, voting that, a new development in the area, other than just for politics sake. If you look at the track record of the NPP, exemplified by the conduct Dr. Mohammed yesterday, they cannot pinpoint a single developmental item in Akwatia, on which basis they will convince their own people to campaign for them. But even today and yesterday, we, after being in power for 8 months, are commissioning a very huge edifice of a decentralized EVLA complex, which is going to employ about 200 people. All those people are from Akwatia constituency. That's the first track record. We have also demonstrated the commitment of government in terms of regularizing and transforming the mining sector to the benefit of the community and the people. And they are very happy with that. Senado cannot show, the NPP cannot show that under their 8 years reign, they have been able to take community mining to Akwatia, which is the backyard of the president and of his wife. They haven't been able to show. We have also shown the commitment of President Mahama in terms of what Feed Ghana program is, in terms of enhancing cocoa farming, the scholarship packages for the farmers, reintroduction of the free fertilizer, reintroduction of the mass spraying, which government policy is going to be initiated. We have told the people that in the last 3 weeks, the NPP and its executive only came to the constituency on Thursday night for a vigil and on Friday night for 5 days for the 1 week funeral. We have been here quite for some time engaging the people. So clearly out of hard work, we are going to win. What may even interest you is that between the two candidates, all of them are local Achim indigents. And so every single member of that constituency, NDC MPP, is seeking to decipher from among them who is the policy material to best represent Parliament in their interest, coupled with the fact that in Akwatia constituency, they have always swinged. They have always changed depending upon the quality of the candidate. Mm-hmm. And so we are very certain in our mind that tomorrow's win will be for the NDC.
Because you talk about
we are also here to demonstrate to the NPP that besides just winning the election, we can also eschew violence, but demonstrate good, competence of political organization to win an election. And that whatever we have done here in the last few weeks, there is nothing that points to the fact that there's a situation beyond control or there's going to be violence. And so we are committed to that, cooperating with the police and helping even the MPP themselves so that they don't fall out of order. We are fully in charge as a party in government. We are fully in charge as a government that owes a responsibility to ensure a peaceful and transparent election based on the functioning of state institutions. And so the NDC is here to cooperate and to help all the stakeholders in ensuring that the right thing is done.
In just a few seconds before I move to Haruna Mohammed, what do you say to people who say that your candidate really shouldn't be trusted, especially for how he must have breached the trust of his clients?
Well, those are people who don't understand the legal profession. At all material points in time, when the lawyer was a lawyer for another person, he has remained a member of NDC, a constituency secretary, a promising, progressing individual in the party, and at no point in time will being a lawyer and providing legal services bar a progressive individual from participating in an internal process within his party. So those comments are deeply seated, divisive political comments that do not really add up to the quality of elections. But the most important thing as we speak is that there are two candidates, one from the MPP side, one from the NDC side. The MPP candidate has been in hiding for some time now because he's not fit for purpose. He is not able to communicate. He's not able to express himself eloquently to convince people. Our candidates have a track record of defending his constituents. That is the most important thing. The most important thing is that our candidate is worthy of being a parliamentarian.
Okay.
Most of them. Akwatia Martin came here and became a spokesperson for the candidate. When you go to Parliament, it is not Akwatia Martin who will speak to represent the people of Akwatia. It is the MP that must represent those.
Okay, let me
and
bring
so that
in
conversation
Haruna.
is neither here nor there.
Okay.
Just before you bring in Haruna.
Okay.
Bande, you say you are commissioning a DVLA office. When was the construction started?
I think we started the construction. They started it, and we came and we finished it, and then we are commissioning it today.
Oh, okay. So the NPP started during their time.
I should think so.
Okay. And your key campaign promise to the people of Akwatia has been?
We have been to partner with them to develop the place in terms of road infrastructure, in terms of job creation, and also the current transitioning of the small-scale mining, which is ongoing. Akwatia will not be left out. And the NPP knows that. Even Baumia was here yesterday to campaign.
Okay.
He couldn't pinpoint one single developmental item as a former vice president based on which they should vote for their candidate. It was only propaganda. He has become a soothsayer and knew who killed NSB and who didn't kill NSB.
I'm grateful to you. I wanted some clarification. I've gotten it. Emefa.
Thank you, Kuzi.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring in Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary for the NPP. Haruna, how are you doing? And tell
I'm fine. That's it.
What's tomorrow looking like for you? What kind of election are you going into tomorrow? And what kind of results are you anticipating tomorrow?
Thank you very much. I say good morning to your cherished viewers and my colleague, Mustafa. We are going for a win tomorrow. There is nothing that is going to stop us from winning and retaining our seat in honor of our late MP, Honorable Yao Hennes. But before I proceed to answer other questions coming from you, foremost, the DVL is a private building who is one of the Council of Elders, who has had private structure, put it up, and been used to have the office developed. Yeah. So it's not a government, it's a private building.
I don't know, but Haruna, I don't know, but the line keeps breaking.
The line is breaking.
Yeah.
So, Haruna, if you just want to reposition yourself so we can hear you.
I am. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. A bit better.
Yes. I am saying that the DPLA building is a private man's building. And that private man is a member of the New Patriotic Party, who in fact is a council member of the party in the constituency, who has envisioned this structure. And government has decided that this structure be used for the purposes of licensing people to be able to drive responsibly on our street for safety of various individuals. And secondly, there are no two candidates in these elections. We have three candidates in this election. We have the NPP, we have the NDC, and we have the LPG. And then thirdly, if it comes to communication, people who can communicate and is given the trust of the two of them, then it's very questionable. You ask yourself, even the Greater Accra Regional Minister could not even be vetted because she cannot speak very well. The Sunyani West MP, you all heard her in Parliament, and many other people who have been throwing bombs in Parliament. Our candidate, which is Solomon Kwame Esumadu, is an astute businessman. He's a degree holder who has surpassed these particular levels. And he has established businesses that he has been able to employ over 5,000 people from Akwatia. So if you say he cannot speak, then deliberately you are exposing the persons or the human resource in your party who have demonstrated their inability to speak even in the House of Parliament. So we know that we have a very strong candidate who we are putting forward for the elections. And we know that our candidate is not going to be honest. Our candidate is not going to be a Judas. Our candidate is not going to throw his way around and to take the properties or things that belongs to the constituent in a manner in which that doesn't desire within the structure of our democracy. So for us, it's not anything at all. We are going to win the election.
As of this morning,
we are not going into the elections with violence.
Okay.
We are not going in there with violence. We are going in peacefully. But if violence comes our way, we have the right to defense in the Constitution. And we cannot be intimidated by anybody.
Nobody will be in power forever. And he should not think that the way they have the leeway in Ablikmanov and misbehave, they will have it here. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
Never.
I hear the assurances you're giving that it's going to be a violence-free election tomorrow.
Exactly.
As of this morning, do you have still any security concerns that you as of this morning, are you going into tomorrow's election quite confident in the security?
For the security, the police is a professional body. The IGP, I have a very trust and confidence in him. With the level of professionalism he has been able to exhibit in his profession up to date. He's somebody that is a very good person when it comes to intelligence and intelligence gathering. I have a lot to say about him. He should not let this election dent his credibility. We have good men in the police service. They should not let this election dent their level of professionalism. We know that the NDC is preparing to give uniforms, police uniforms to the attack, who they had used in various elections, and they are going to hand over police uniforms to them, and they are going to mark them. That is why we are saying that any marked person will be treated as a tag. Again, we will also fish out members of the NDC who they are putting in as police officers who will be wearing these police uniforms. And we are also alerting the Ghana Police Service to ensure that these people should be fished out. They should not allow them to come in and infiltrate in their services and make sure that their level of professionalism comes down. The peace of the world, in terms of the Ghana's ranking, we have come down. Look at what is happening in Boku. Look at what is happening in Kwaranza. Look at what is happening in Sola. Look at what is happening in Accra. Everywhere there is conflict. Peace and security is something that is on our throat. We cannot allow Akwatia to be part of that particular system. And we are of the view, before you can defend, that's why we say we are going, before you have to defend, somebody would have to do something. If that one is not done, then you will not see a defense. So today, we are pressing the button of Operation Firewall. A firewall is going to be built around every NPP member, and that is what we are going to go into the elections.
What
firewall here is to defend.
What does that mean?
Defend external intruders who will be coming in, who are not genuine, who are going to be opposing, and that is what we are going to do.
Okay.
We are for peace, and if they don't want peace and they bring violence, then we have the opportunity to defend, and that is why we are citizens of the Republic of Ghana.
What does that mean? Operation what?
Firewall. What is
firewall?
What is
firewall in the security sense, and also in the IT environment, is creating a defensive strategy where you are able to oppose an external intruding into a network system that is very destructive, which is not part of the plan of the operations of the operating system.
What's your campaign message?
We are going to press the term of Operation Firewall to defend, so that any intruder, whether you are wearing a uniform that you don't desire to wear, whether you are a tag that you want to come and cause disruption and what have you, we have the opportunity and grounded in the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana to defend. And that is why we want a war. A war must defend us.
As of this morning, what's your campaign message to the people of Akwatia?
Our campaign message to the people of Akwatia is that we have been in government, we have done a number of things, a very high-level development project that we have done. We have built hospitals, we have built clinics in several other places. We have been able to put together some certain road infrastructure. We have not been able to bring heaven to them. Most of the debtor grounds that they are going around and doing, we have helped to construct so that communities can use it for funerals and what have you. We have also given job opportunities to many other people. When we were also doing the Galam stop, we were able to make sure that at least responsible mining activities were instituted within this particular mining area. And we are very focused and know very well that some of these works that we have done and they are not completed, some of them are at culvert level that we needed to fill and make sure that we are able to put bitumen on them. We expect the NDC to continue because they are government in power and governance is continued. But it is obvious for you to know that in the 2025 budget of the NDC, no plan, no single project has been earmarked for Akwatia constituency. In the media budget of the NDC, no single project has been earmarked for Akwatia constituency.
It tells you that the NDC doesn't have the Akwatia constituency in their mind, and development of Akwatia doesn't cross them. So they are not legitimate people to take over the seat of Akwatia. The people of Akwatia decided on the 7th of December, and they should maintain that decision to honor the late NS Yao Kumi for the people of Akwatia constituency.
Well, we've been engaging with both parties. It will be a good time to just engage with Doc and Prof as well to take their final messages. Well, Bandy, if you want to respond.
If you respond, I will respond.
Well.
Yeah, if you give me the opportunity,
I think we need to move on.
We
need to move on. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yeah, let's bring in our Professor Smasapon. Prof. So as we conclude, you've listened to both parties now. What will be your advice to them as to the strategy that can help them win this election?
Well, so interesting, insightful conversation this morning. And when the two of them meet, you can be assured of some of this. If you come, I'll come, and all those things. Interesting. They should really demonstrate to all of us that they act the things they say. All of them, both my brother Mustafa and Haruna, have all promised us this morning that it's going to be peaceful from their camps. They should, in fact, for the first time, let's as a people demonstrate that we can behave without we being whipped or police or military and all those things. We can behave. We can give mutual respect to one another. Why would police deploy 5,500 people? Akwatia has about 119 polling stations. Let's say 120 polling stations. If you deploy 5,500 policemen to the place, it means well over 46 police people at one polling station. Why? Even war-torn areas and countries will not have this situation. But, I mean, it's based on how we have conducted ourselves in the past. The police, we know, will be professionals and they will not cause any chaos. So we call on the political parties to, at this point, demonstrate to us the things that they keep saying with their mouth. And for the first time, let's record a by-election that is extremely peaceful, and we will all gather after the elections to applaud them. As for winning, only one person would win. And if you win by the fall of human beings, blood, and all the chaos, conflict, you would not even enjoy your term as an MP. Your name will always be mentioned whenever the memory of the chaos or those who would fall is mentioned. Your name will definitely be part of it. They say if an event occurs at your backyard, anytime the event is mentioned, your name is also mentioned along with it. So we beg them. Okay. As for the campaigns, they've said a lot. It is time for them to go and get their people out to vote in a process that is peaceful, in a manner that is peaceful and unites us. After tomorrow, Akwatia will still live as a constituency. Yeah. We want Akwatia to live united and not divided based on just a process of replacing a fallen member of parliament. So we beg them seriously.
That's Professor Smasapon, Director of Research and Innovation for the Kumasi Technical University. Dr. John Osaikopon, you've listened to both parties now. Tomorrow is the day. What will be your departing advice to them?
Yes. So I go back to the NCC matters of concern to the Ghanaian voter research study in the lead up to 2024. There was a question about, are you prepared to engage in electoral violence? And only 1% said yes. But what was intriguing was the reasons why those who said yes would engage in electoral violence. One of them was, if I feel like my party is being cheated, and two, to fight for justice on behalf of my party. So I say all that to say that, one, electoral officials must make sure that whatever they do administratively tomorrow for this by-election will be done in such a way that doesn't create the impression for any political party to feel as though they are being cheated, and therefore there's a need to engage in a fight for justice for their party. But I also hope that, as I said earlier on, that the political parties would find a way to also be measured in their political temperament, and the security forces would also enforce the law without fear or favor and impartially. I think if we are able to put all of these variables together, my hope is that we should have a peaceful election. As Prof said, it is not worth it for an electoral victory that is high. Unfortunate cases like electoral violence, where, God forbid, someone even loses their life over this.
Thank you very much. Dr. John Osai-Kwapong is a CDD fellow, a director in charge of the Democracy Project for CDD. Well, that's how we wrap up the top big story.
Yeah.
I was going to say top story. Big story for today. Thanks to you, all the people who joined us for this segment. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more.